This is a recently released zombie movie from Argentina. In the film, after biting someone, the zombies inexplicably freeze for 32 seconds. If you fail to reach a safe place during this time, there is a high chance of becoming a walking buffet. The story starts with Iris, an employee at a sports club, preparing to take her daughter to work for the night shift. Unbeknownst to them, the city is undergoing a transformation as a mysterious zombie virus spreads. Upon reaching their workplace, Iris instructs her daughter to play in the basketball court while she goes on patrol. However, shortly after Iris begins her patrol, a strange figure appears outside the window. Meanwhile, while on patrol, Iris witnesses violent incidents of people being attacked on the streets. She quickly dials the emergency hotline but realizes she cannot get through. Consequently, she has no choice but to seek help from the security guard downstairs. The security guard insists that it's just a bunch of thugs fighting and tells Iris to lock the main gate to ensure their safety. Quickly, Iris heads to the surveillance room and finds no abnormalities on her daughter's side. So, she decides to go downstairs to lock the main gate before going to the basketball court to find her daughter. Little did she know that a zombie had already climbed inside during this time. When she arrives at the basketball court, her daughter is nowhere to be seen, only a skateboard left behind on the ground. Anxiously, she shouts loudly but receives no response. Suddenly, a zombie appears behind her. Iris quickly runs from the second floor to the first. Assuming it's one of the troublemakers from earlier, she loudly scolds the figure to leave immediately. However, as she gets closer, Iris is startled by the horrifying appearance. Realizing the danger, in the next moment, the zombie lunges at her. In a panic, Iris fiercely smashes the zombie with the skateboard in her hand. However, the damage inflicted is insignificant to a zombie, akin to a mere scratch. Fortunately, Iris is very familiar with the surroundings. She quickly runs to the second floor and shuts a steel door to block the zombie's attack. When she looks outside again, she sees that the security guard has already fallen to the ground, and people on the street are desperately fleeing for their lives. Finally realizing the severity of the situation, Iris, amidst her terror, becomes even more worried about her daughter's safety. She returns to the surveillance room in an attempt to locate her. After reviewing the surveillance footage, she finally spots her daughter's figure in a warehouse. Luckily, there happens to be a phone there. Iris quickly dials the number, and when her daughter answers, she instructs her to lock the room door and not open it for anyone. She assures her that she will come to find her soon and even prepares a secret knock as a precaution. After hanging up the phone, the girl follows the instructions and locks the room door. However, in the next moment, a zombie appears outside the door and relentlessly pounds on it. Frightened, she quickly hides in a corner. Suddenly, the noise from outside abruptly stops. Just as the girl is about to go out and investigate, a pair of large hands drags her inside. However, Iris's situation is not optimistic either. A zombie appears outside, and she quickly hides under the table, but the zombie breaks into the surveillance room and begins searching for prey. Iris holds her breath, afraid to make any noise. However, unexpectedly, an accident occurs. Just as the zombie is about to leave the room, a cat unexpectedly enters. Before it can reach Iris, the zombie grabs it and throws it out, greatly startling Iris. But the zombie doesn't stop there. It walks over to the dying cat and smashes it forcefully onto the ground. Once the cat meets its demise, the zombie squats on the ground, motionless, emitting an indescribable eerie feeling. Although the meaning behind this action is unknown, it presents the best opportunity for escape. Iris cautiously crawls out from under the table, carefully leaves the surveillance room, and finds a safe place. She then uses her phone to review the surveillance footage. Iris made a surprising discovery. It wasn't just the zombie she encountered earlier that had this strange behavior. Every zombie, after finishing their meal, would enter a brief period of immobility. The duration of this pause was exactly the same for each zombie, precisely 32 seconds, just like a cooldown for a skill. However, just as Iris was perplexed by this revelation, she heard a commotion outside. Following the sound, she entered the bathroom, only to be tackled by a zombie that suddenly appeared in one of the stalls. Just as she was about to meet her doom, a stranger yanked the zombie away. Quickly getting up, Iris fled for her life. But to her surprise, as soon as she reached the swimming pool, the man pushed her into the water. He followed suit and jumped in himself, with zombies close behind. The man gestured for Iris not to panic and pointed to the zombies nearby. It turned out that zombies couldn't swim. In less than a minute, it drowned in the pool. Seizing the opportunity, the two climbed out of the pool. The man, named Luis, quickly examined Iris's palms and fortunately found no signs of infection. Through their conversation, Iris learned that Luis had been on his way to the hospital with his pregnant wife when they were attacked by zombies. In a desperate situation, they took refuge in this sports club. Luis proceeded to tell Iris that his wife was about to give birth, and he hoped she could assist with the delivery. However, Iris expressed that her own daughter's whereabouts were unknown, and she had to find her immediately. Yet, Luis insisted that if she helped him, they would search for Iris's daughter together. After all, having an extra person meant additional strength. Iris reluctantly agreed. After changing out of their soaked clothes in the locker room, they followed Luis to the room where his wife was. However, the moment the curtain was pulled back, Iris was startled. It turned out that his wife had already been infected with the zombie virus. This pervert even let Iris deliver her baby. At that moment, all Iris wanted was to escape from there as quickly as possible. However, the room door had already been locked by Luis. No matter how desperately Iris pleaded, he remained unmoved. He even mentioned her daughter's name, which surprised Iris. She hadn't told him. So how did he know? Clearly, it was Luis who had abducted her daughter just now. Under Luis's threat, Iris had no choice but to reluctantly agree. They proceeded with the pregnant woman to the medical room. However, as they passed by an abandoned swimming pool, Iris noticed a man lying inside who seemed somewhat familiar. As she approached, she realized it was indeed her husband. He had originally come to pick her up from work but was attacked by zombies. Seeing nearby zombies starting to stir, Luis urged Iris to quickly leave the area. Iris took the car keys from her husband's body and retrieved a smoke bomb from her backpack. She threw it on the ground, and as the smoke filled the entire pool area, the horde of zombies began to pour in. Concealed by the smoke, they went unnoticed and managed to crawl out of the pool. They swiftly left the area. They then arrived at the medical room. Luis securely tied his wife to the bed and began delivering the baby. The child was successfully born. As a reward for his wife, Luis proceeded to untie her and gave her some unidentified food to eat. After the wife ate it, immediately went into a 32-second still time. Luis hurriedly took the baby and placed it next to his wife. Let her have a good hug. The clock was ticking and Iris was stamping her feet anxiously. However, in the next moment, the power suddenly went out. When Iris turned on her flashlight, she discovered that Luis' wife and child had disappeared without a trace. Following the sounds, they found them in a corner of the room. Fortunately, the child was temporarily safe from the zombies. After all, the zombies had lost their humanity, and the adorable child was nothing more than a delicious meal in their eyes. Seeing his wife losing her sanity, Luis could only send her away with tears in his eyes. He approached and picked up his son. Being parents themselves, Luis didn't further trouble Iris. Instead, he revealed the whereabouts of her daughter. Upon learning this, Iris immediately rushed over. However, when she arrived at the destination, all she saw was her daughter's abandoned backpack and a body burning in the nearby fireplace. Seeing this scene, Iris was instantly grief-stricken and her heart-rending cries managed to get the zombies' attention. Iris swayed as she stood up. Unable to accept the consecutive loss of her husband and daughter, she was ready to end her own life before the arrival of the zombies. However, just as she was about to pull the trigger, she suddenly noticed the fingerprint lock next to her emitting a red light. This alarm would only be triggered if someone attempted to unlock it. The room's door upstairs had the same feature. Obviously, someone was trying to seek refuge inside. Could it be her daughter? Soon after, Iris noticed a room with a lit light. She first called out her daughter's name but received no response. Then, she knocked out the prearranged secret code. Surprisingly, her daughter was indeed inside. Overjoyed, the two embraced and shed tears of happiness. No time to grieve. Iris quickly prepared to leave with her daughter. However, as they were about to pass through a corridor, they discovered that it was filled with zombies. It seemed almost impossible to get through. The two men hurriedly hid in a room, intending to wait until the zombies had left. Unexpectedly, the room turned out to be infested with mice. But Iris didn't feel scared. Instead, she came up with a brilliant idea. Using fire, she drove all the mice out of the room. The zombies immediately noticed the food and began feasting. When all the zombies entered a state of stillness, Iris took out her phone, set the countdown timer to 32 seconds, and nervously led her daughter through the horde of zombies. At this point, the countdown was halfway through. Just a few steps away from success, a mischievous zombie suddenly grabbed hold of her daughter's hand. No matter how hard Iris struggled, she couldn't break free from the zombie's grasp, and the surrounding zombies began to awaken. Iris tries to shoot the zombie, but finds that the gun has no bullets at all. In a critical moment, She had no choice but to use the gun to strike the zombie. After breaking free, she quickly picked up an iron rod from the ground and successfully fought her way out with her daughter. The pursuing zombies were relentless, and Iris constantly created obstacles in an attempt to impede them, but it was futile. They ran desperately until they reached a basketball court, only to find more and more zombies converging on them from all directions. They managed to escape to the exit, but discovered that it was blocked by an ambulance. Fortunately, they could break through the windshield. However, the zombie horde was closing in. Iris quickly closed the rear door of the ambulance, temporarily keeping the zombies inside. She intended to leave in her husband's car, but the tires had already been rendered useless. Nevertheless, she urged her daughter to get in the car and covered all the windows with white cloth. At the moment when the zombies were about to break in, Iris decisively started the car. The zombies quickly surrounded the car, but when they opened the door, they found it empty. They had been deceived. Iris and her daughter had already escaped through the sewer access in the rear. Inside the sewer, they encountered Luis, who had escaped earlier. However, to protect the child, Luis had already been infected by the zombie virus. He entrusted the child to Iris and urged her to go to the harbor and board a ship. As long as they could escape the city, they would be safe. However, just as the words fell, a zombie followed them into the sewer. This eerie behavior made Iris tense, but for the sake of her daughter behind her, she courageously rushed forward, intending to fight the zombie to the death, but didn't expect to be knocked to the ground after just one encounter, then pinned to the ground and frantically rubbed. Fortunately, instead of immediately devouring her, the zombie knelt down and entered a state of stillness for 32 seconds. Taking advantage of this moment, her daughter quickly checked Iris's condition and thankfully found no life-threatening injuries. Iris rushes to tell her daughter that she must now kill the zombie as soon as possible. Although her daughter was frightened, she mustered up the courage and picked up a nail gun from the ground, sending the zombie away as it was about to wake up again. The mother and daughter, who survived the disaster, embraced and wept, then walked towards the pier with the child.